Pigeons and doves constitute the family Columbidae in the order Columbiformes. There are approximately 40 genera within this family, with over 300 species. The word columbine refers to pigeons and doves. These birds have got stout bodies, short necks, and slender bills. In Australia, they can be found from the deserts to the tropical rainforests. There is a wide range of ecozones for the columbiforms. The peaceful dove tends to like dry zones where its numbers are large, but it can also be found in more coastal zones as well. A considerable amount of knowledge has been obtained about columbiforms, mainly because of the research into the racing pigeon, in particular with reference to the navigation abilities and the ability of the columbiforms to produce pigeon milk from the crop, which is just above the stomach. This milk is very similar to mammalian milk in its consistency and function. The peaceful dove is one of the smallest pigeons and has the characteristic periorbital blue eye ring. The peaceful doves, like most other pigeons and doves, is found largely on the ground. They are often in larger groups or flocks and feed mainly on seed. This bird is found over continental Australia. They don't really go into rainforests but do come up to the edges of it. The exception in terms of location is that of Tasmania and the most southern portion of continental Australia. Like all columbiforms, the eyes of the peaceful dove project to the side, so their best vision is lateral. This gives them a very wide field of view. Both eyes are relatively fixed, and the field of view is limited a little bit posterior and forward. In the absence of stereoscopic vision, head bobbing is an important manoeuvre so that the eye can judge the distance of objects. Like many other birds, the columbiforms have an eye that can change its diameter anterior and posterior. The shape alteration in the eyeball allows for accurate focusing, so they can get a depth perception from a single eye. As we know, most birds have a much more improved vision compared to humans and mammals. This is because of this elasticity in the eye and the large fovea. Where the focal point of the human eye is only 10 degrees, that of birds can be up to 25. The diamond dove is very much like the peaceful dove in size, with a characteristic stocky body, short legs. They do well in dry climate areas, but like all other birds that are seed eaters, need regular daily water. The name diamond dove comes from the fact that it has very small flecks on the side wing, independent of sex. The peaceful dove and the diamond dove both share similar habitat, but they can be easily distinguished because of the periorbital eye ring colour. That of the diamond dove is orange-red, whereas the peaceful dove has a blue periorbital eye ring. Emerald doves are found between India and Australia. In Australia there are two subspecies, but in essence the Australian subspecies lack the white on the top that is found in India and Southeast Asia. These birds are found in the top end of Australia, coming down the east coast, between the coast and the rainforest. The spotted dove and the laughing dove are two birds that have been introduced into Australia. The laughing dove is found only in the southwest of WA. Spotted dove is found more throughout the eastern coast. The bar-shouldered dove is native to Australia and New Guinea. It is found along the northern coast, coming down to the Pilbara region in the west, and then down along the eastern coast. The numbers in the southern areas of Victoria and South Australia do appear to be increasing. The copper colour at the nape of the neck in bar-shouldered doves can be quite spectacular with its iridescence. Doves can visualise in the ultraviolet wavelength, so these vibrancy changes that occur with breeding modes would be spectacular to be able to be seen through the eyes of the columbiforms. Bar-shouldered doves are usually found in small groups, occasionally in pairs. The periorbital eye colour of the bar-shouldered dove is grey, but in breeding mode it goes into a maroon colour in both sexes. The vocal repertory of bar-shouldered doves, like many of the other doves, is not large. Because of this, when they take off in flight, the tips of the prime feathers along the wings vibrate, giving a sharp whistling sound. So instead of making danger calls, this wing sound alerts other doves and pigeons that danger is present. In addition, the first movement of the wing can often give rise to a clap, which is also a danger warning to alert other members of the flock nearby. Bronzewing pigeons are native to Australia, and they are quite characteristic. A bronze-winged pigeon is one that has rainbow iridescence in the wing operculum, and in the adult there is a green coppery colour. There are quite a few bronze-winged pigeons in Australia. The common bronzewing is perhaps the typical one. This is a short, stout bird that is prized by Indigenous people as being a good meal. Here, while the bird is drinking, you can see the colours flashing in the light. It is quite a spectacular colour, and once again one would wish to be able to see in the ultraviolet spectrum, to see exactly how these colours change when they enter into breeding mode. Pigeons and doves, when they drink, suck the water up and then swallow it. The greater majority of other birds lick the water like a cat does, then tip their head back and swallow the droplets down. In mating of pigeons and doves, the tail movement and tail display with vocalisation from the syrinx is the most important aspect of their mating. The female generally runs away, but if she stops, then that is a good sign. After they stop, they usually then have a kiss, which is common in doves and pigeons, where the beaks intertwine. They may also taste one another's crock milk with this pigeon kiss. Other bronzewings include the flock bronzewing and the brush bronzewing. The flock bronzewing has a very limited amount of rainbow effect on the wing. The brush bronzewing, in contrast, has brilliant rainbow effects, but not as extensive as common bronzewing. The partridge pigeon is found in the top end of Australia. There are two subspecies, differentiated because of the colour of the skin around the eye. One is yellow, as shown here, and the other subspecies is coloured red. Squatter pigeons are so called because of the fact that they tend to stand in a squatted position. With the bronzewing pigeons, when one looks at phylogenetic terminology of pigeons, the word phaps is used. This is Greek for pigeon. And then there are the geophaps, the earthbound pigeons such as the squatter and the Spinifex pigeon. Then there is ossiphaps, which are the fast pigeons. Ossiphaps lophotes is the taxonomic name for the crested pigeon. Courtship rituals for the crested pigeon are similar to the other pigeons and doves. Here is the classic pigeon kiss. These birds can exchange milk, or what is called pigeon milk, that is produced in the crop of these birds when they kiss like this. Pigeon milk is most important in raising the young. It is high in protein, similar to mammalian milk. It also contains many immunoglobulins, particularly from the IgA group of antibodies. There are also growth factors, most importantly those that improve the immune system, making the lymphoid system of the gut of young birds grow rapidly. Like many pigeons, when these birds suddenly leave the ground, they do make a whistling noise with their wings. In crested pigeons, the third primary feather from the tip of the wing is thinner, so when the bird takes off, the crested pigeon wings vibrate, and this thinner feather gives a particular high-pitched sound like a whistle. It is a warning to other birds that danger could be present. Young newborn chicks of pigeons double their birth weight in 48 hours. This is largely attributed to growth factors in crop milk that these birds produce. Crop milk is produced by all pigeons and doves. Interestingly, the prolactin levels in both the female and the male increase, giving rise to the milk production in the crop, so it is not only a female attribute. The Spinifex pigeon is another crested pigeon where the crest stands vertical. Don't get confused with the topknot pigeon. The topknot pigeon crest is not elevated, but instead lies flat. The Spinifex pigeon is the master of camouflage, preferring to hide in the red rocky soils of grass-covered ridges in northern Australia where it is relatively dry. The European rock pigeon is the precursor to what we now call feral pigeons in Australia. In Australia, our only real rock dove is the white-quilled pigeon. This bird is found in northern Australia. A plain-looking bird with beautiful lace patterns around the face. Like any other rock pigeon, it is found only in rocky areas, and this was taken at Kununurra. As you can see, they love to perch on rocky ledges. They nest in the holes and crevasses of the rock cliffs, feeding mainly on the grass, and then sit on the rocks looking out for predators. This pigeon is called a white-headed pigeon, and in contrast to birds that eat a lot of dry seed, this bird lives more in rainforest and densely wooded areas, eating fleshy fruits from trees, so it's more frugivorous in its diet. The numbers in the southern areas of Australia are perhaps increasing. Some people believe this is related to the proliferation of camphor laurel trees. There is much debate about camphor laurels and whether they are toxic or not to birds, but overall there's no definitive evidence to suggest that they are. The main problem with camphor laurel is that it displaces native vegetation along waterways. Some people group pied imperial pigeon separately to the Torresian pigeon, but for all purposes they are much alike, with a yellowish bill, white with black wingtips, a dark eye, and the tail vent is barred. There is a sedentary population in the top end of Australia on the coastal rainforest areas. In the wet season of the top end, the numbers increase from a migratory influx. They come across the Torres Strait when palms of the tropics fruit and food is far more readily available. There are approximately 50 fruit doves throughout the world. In Australia we have 4. These fruit doves, unlike many of the other pigeons, do show sexual dimorphism. Here is the rose-crowned fruit dove. It is eating on palm berries of a climbing palm. The Tilinopus are all frugivorous and brightly coloured. The ancient Greek word tilinosus really means featherfoot. The highest concentration of tilinosus birds is found around the Wallace Line, where there are influences that have come in the development of these birds from Asia and Australia. The topknot pigeon often flies in large flocks over tree-top canopies to an area where trees are fruiting. It is found right along the east coast of Australia, and there have been some incidental reports of the bird flying over the Bass Strait into Tasmania. The bill of most birds is made of bone, but covering the bone there is a layer of keratin, and in some pigeons, like the topknot, this is thickened at the base. This operculum base varies in columbines, and pigeon fanciers have taken the advantage, sometimes making some of their exotic birds with very large fleshy bases to the bill. Macropygia means large pigeon, and the brown cuckoo dove is a member of this genus, because the cuckoo doves have a long tail, and all belong to this genus of birds. In Australia we only have one. It is the brown cuckoo dove. Fig trees and palm trees, when in fruit, are the mainstay in diet of these frugivorous birds. The other ones that are of significance are the Wompoo pigeon, the banded fruit dove, and the superb fruit dove. The call of the brown cuckoo dove is one of the most common rainforest sounds. Its distribution is along the eastern coast, preferring open areas along adjacent dense wooded forests where there is an abundance of fruiting trees. The Wonga pigeon is another frugivorous bird. It is found mainly in rainforests and on the edges of rainforest. It is extremely shy, and it's one that is always extremely difficult to photograph. This Wonga pigeon is eating seed. There was a considerable amount of sheoak seed on the ground here. Though largely frugivorous, they also eat dry seed. To finish, we will look at this Wonga pigeon drinking. Notice that it moves its tongue to create swallowing movements and can get the water into the stomach without having to use gravity. This is once again an attribute found in few birds, but certainly common in pigeons and doves.